Welcome to Visualize, the podcast where collaboration fuels change. I'm your host, Chris Baker, and each week we'll explore incredible connections between nonprofits, businesses, and the community. This is a space where we highlight inspiring partnerships, uncover strategies for creating meaningful impact, and share stories that show how working together can make all the difference. Whether you're a nonprofit leader, a business owner, or someone just passionate about building connections, this podcast is for you. Welcome back to Visual Eyes, where we shine the light on changemakers shaping culture, community, and creativity. Before we begin, I want to just give a huge thank you to our brand partner, Chris Baker, with Align and Innovate. Chris leads with heart and strategy, helping small businesses and nonprofits stream their operations, implement human-first AI strategies and systems, and help you grow with clarity. Align and Innovate isn't just about tools, it's about transformation, alignment, and opening locked doors to new possibilities. We're honored to have Align and Innovate as our partner in this work, so visit aligninnovate.com or check the show notes for a direct link. Today, we're joined with Krista Berry, an educator, strategist, and nonprofit leader who's helping ensure that organizations everywhere have access to knowledge and tools that they need to make real impact. Today, from fundraising to governance to community education, Krista's work with Candid is all about turning information into transformation. Welcome, Krista.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. So, I met you a few months back, and you were doing an amazing, talk at the Chamber. And I didn't know anything about Candid at the time. So can you explain to us and anybody else here what is Candid and how does it help the community?
Yeah, it's such a great question. That was an honor to be there, and it's an honor to be here as well. I work locally here in Florida from my apartment, but I get to serve the nation, all of the nonprofits around the country. So it's really special that I was able to be there in person with the Chamber. I don't get to do that every day, or this for that matter. So thanks for having me. Yeah, we were kicking off a special partnership. We've been experimenting in different ways on how essentially what Candid does can help more nonprofits. So what is Candid? It's important to better understand that we are basically a new-ish organization. We're about 6 years old, but we come from two very historic or legacy organizations in the sector, GuideStar, as many have heard, and Foundation Center. And so those two organizations with many years, 20, 30, 40 plus years of data and information and experience have come together so that we can do better. So essentially our job is to help all the nonprofits in the sector do their job better. So we do that through data and research, through education. That's some of the things that I get to do, talks and trainings. The list is pretty long. We've got a lot of insights. We've got a lot of partners. Collaboration, as we've talked about, is really important to us as well. So the list goes on. Hopefully we can dig into a few of the resources that we have for nonprofits.
I hope so.
But I hope that folks can also kind of go and figure out on our website what's best for them as well.
So you just mentioned the website. So how does the website work specifically, and how does it help different various nonprofits? So obviously, if you're a small nonprofit, there might be one sector that's a little bit more strong for them, and so on.
Yeah, there's so much information. There's a couple of different resources and tools that we provide. Let's see if I can remember. Visibility, funding, and training are really our three core areas that are most helpful for nonprofits. When I say we also serve the sector, we have a lot of resources for corporations, businesses, and also foundations and funders, and even individual donors. So we're there for everyone, but I'm going to focus today a little bit more on our audience of nonprofits and how we can help nonprofits get more funding.
Yeah, no, honestly, that's one of the biggest key hurdles right now, I feel like, is how are you finding that funding?
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of more transparency that goes through working with Candid, specifically to help the nonprofits get to that next level and actually make sure that they're getting the funding that they're needing and deserving.
Yeah.
So explain a little bit about the different levels of transparency.
Yeah, thank you. That's part of the visibility, focus for us. And that's where, if you may have heard of GuideStar, that's the same thing. And everyone's like, is that the same? Is Candid the same as GuideStar? Yes. We're the same. We just rebranded. And so this is important that we tell our story in a different way as well. It's basically a profile. Every nonprofit has one. It's because they've filed with the IRS in the United States, and you have a profile. The difference is we only have basic information if you don't go in and claim it and update your profile. And a lot of folks at this point will say, Krista, how much? And I'm here to tell you it's free, which is also a really cool part of my job, because there's other folks that make sure that our organization is powered for free things, but I don't have to do that job right now. So it's free. It's free to everyone. The important piece is that it's not like a rating system like some of the other tools out there. It's really more about contributed data and contributed information. It's a free tool for nonprofits to tell their story, which is so much of what you do as well. So yeah. I see why we're here today.
It's a good collaboration.
We're collaborating right now. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways. The basic information, like where folks should send their checks to, like we all need that information. But also there's more information that there on the programming that the organization does, how you track success, what your financials are, maybe some of your demographics. And this is key information for donors.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's why it turns into like a fundraising tool, really, is that funders, and we know foundations like our own Community Foundation of Broward here in our region, they're using this tool on their back end through their research to not only do their due diligence, but to actually find organizations and identify with work. And the other piece that's really important to all of us is the efficiency of it. If you think about nonprofits needing to share that same information over and over and over again with funders or their community, it is, time consuming. And then it's time consuming for the foundations as well to have to gather that information over and over. So it's another part of our key focus is creating more efficiencies for the sector so that everyone can be doing the important work that they're doing. So let's recap. There's a Candid profile.
Yeah.
And you asked about the seals as well. Like, what are these seals? The more information that you share about your nonprofit, the different seal level you get. So we're not in the back, like, some dark room deciding who gets a different gold seal. That's not the point. It's really more about the more you contribute, you earn a seal.
Yep.
And therefore you get to kind of shine it out to the world. There's a lot of different fundraising tools that are built into it. Like now we have Apple Pay, makes it easier to gather in for your, folks' money right on the site. Let's see, what else is there? There's a shareable link. And that's something that's really unique, especially this is, we're talking about this now in giving season, but any time of year, you want to be able to put that link out there on your newsletter or on your website so that any donors can kind of click in and read more about you.
So when you say it's a clickable link, it's where whatever you've shared with Candid, it's already there so that anybody in the grantor sector can actually look, see what's there, get the information and say, yeah, I want to donate more, I want to give.
Yeah, we've actually redid a study recently, which is very exciting for us on the education team. And we've learned that 62% of organizations that have a seal of transparency are getting more contributions. So that makes us so happy. We did the study really wanting to know.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, well, depending on the results, we'll figure it out. Maybe we'll have to improve it. But that's really exciting for us as the fundraising and training and kind of external team to know that it's working. And they show up in a lot of different ways. The Community Foundation of Broward, for example, is now requiring a gold seal of transparency in order to apply for their grants. So we're seeing funders coming on board with that because of the efficiency and also the kind of clear, standard information in one place. But there's a lot of different other ways that folks are utilizing this profile. For example, donor advised funds. This is kind of like DAFs, and it's kind of a hot topic in our area as well. And it's like, how do you access these essentially donors that are not as visible, right? Well, we've got a lot of partnerships through technology and through this information, like they call them APIs and important back-end things in different databases that I'm not an expert on, but donor advised fund, right? They talk to each other. Yeah, it's like, go tech. It's working. It's working for good. Yeah. But they're able to, essentially these donor advised fund holders are able to use the database, or maybe that's not even the word anymore, application, to search for organizations. And those are some of the partnerships that we have in the back end. So we keep hearing over and over, well, you can't plan for an unsolicited gift. It's happening. And I'll use Mackenzie Scott as an example. It's like a big donor, mega donor example, but it's real. She found us and many of the organizations in a lot of her philanthropy through using our site to say, what's really important to me in Broward. I'm really worried about youth development, and I want to, help urban gardens in my community. Well, you can kind of go in and do your own search and find smaller or, kind of mid-sized organizations that you might not have heard about that's doing really great work. So yeah, it's a really cool tool.
I love that. So I am going to switch over to the for-profit area. So now that you're talking about that, if a for-profit or an individual wants to find and, do that search, so everything, you can just go on the website and do a full search for any of the nonprofits here in Broward County specifically, or anywhere else, because you said that it is nationwide. So they can actually choose, this is the organization I love because this is what they're doing, and they've already given me all of this information.
All the information. Yeah, and we hear it too from organizations in our own region that they're able to identify donors outside of this region that are wanting to give to your own region because either they grew up here, or they have a connection to the area, or they might have a connection to the purpose, or maybe they have a family member. You just don't know where you might find folks that are interested in your cause. So while we do a lot of, kind of community-based fundraising, why not use this visibility opportunity to put yourself out there and have folks be able to discover you in different ways as well? So yeah, there is like things with subscriptions and stuff like that you'll have to go in. I don't think you can do unlimited searches because we want to kind of protect information as well. But certainly there's a tool there for everyone. Depending on how much you want to use it. Yeah.
I love that. It gives people more freedom and transparency and availability to having some of this access and some of this knowledge about the nonprofits and who they want to support.
Yep.
So I love it.
Yeah.
So that was part of the visibility. So now one of the other ones was training.
Yes.
So how does the training work with Candid?
Yeah, we have a lot of training offerings. We have a whole area on our site called Candid Learning. And that's an area that my team is kind of involved in as well. Because we are fundraising experts and nonprofit experts, we have a whole core of curriculum. I think there's only one program that costs money. Everything is free because we want to make sure that the capacity building of your organization and really understanding what to do with these tools beyond just having them, it sticks. So we've got a series of intro courses, intro to finding grants, intro to writing, proposal writing. I just revamped a whole intro to individual giving because we know we want to diversify funding in different ways as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, lots of proposal writing resources. We've got a whole area with sample docs, which I love as well, because sometimes you're like, okay, Community Foundation of Broward wants me to write a grant application, but I'm not exactly sure what others are looking like. So you can compare and get ideas on sample documents. And then we also have a kind of a cool area called labs. Because we're a tech company for good, we're experimenting with a lot of different new innovative tools as well, including AI. So that's been a fun project for me this year, and I'm pretty sure it'll continue. That I've been more of like an internal subject matter for our user to better understand how we might build more AI and efficiency tools. So you can go on labs and see if there's some RFP recommendations based on your profile information that we can find for you, or test out a letter of inquiry writer so that once you have all your information in your profile, it'll kind of spit out a AI first draft of a letter that you could send to a potential funder. So we can go in there and kind of play and give us feedback so we can make these tools better. And so that's exciting, part of the kind of putting all the tools together in the learning space, which I think really sets Candid apart from potentially other folks that may have the information or the data, but not really connecting the, how do I apply it, or what do I actually do with this information? So more stuff coming for sure, but it's an exciting time to think about how we can really leverage technology to make their lives, more efficient, and also like get you the funding. That's really our goal at the end of the day, is that nonprofits have the funding to be able to do the good work.
Yeah, if they don't have the funding, it's really hard to continue building and scaling and growing and helping the community as a whole, because you want to be able to do all of those things. And you started the nonprofit, whoever they are, specifically with a passion of really making the community stronger, better. They don't always have all the tech skills. They don't always have the business skills. They don't have that. They just have the heart. And, sometimes they need a little bit of help. So I'm glad that, you're here, as well as thank you to Align and Innovate, because they also do, amazing AI work and, try to make sure that human first, like we're all here to learn how to use the material and actually use the application versus replacing. That's what we really are focusing on.
Yeah, there's so many great tools out there. They're not all the same, try them, use them, find efficiencies, but also like check in with yourself because you started or are part of the organization and you're really like the passion behind it. You're also the expert. So thinking through, there might be other experts that are good at helping you tell your story and good at, crafting your materials or, even running your finances. But you want to make sure that expertise on your work continues to shine through, but is also accessible to folks that might not be the experts. So using, kind of that asset framing language and really talking about your work in terms of impact and outcomes is some of the stuff that not only some of our tools provide, but some of the education can also kind of support folks in so that they can find other collaborators and partners like you to really boost their work. You were also saying collaboration, and I'm like, this is such an important time. I think it always has been to work with other nonprofits. Yeah. But it's also such an important time to be thinking about like how else you're working with other small nonprofits to really like amplify your work and to leverage the good things that you're doing together. And so I'm all about like nonprofit collaborations being a solution to a lot of challenges as well. So I appreciate that you mention that.
Well, I'm glad that you segue that way for collaboration. So one of the biggest ones that you mentioned is right now you're collaborating with the Community Foundation of Broward. Can you tell us, a story of how you guys are working together right now and if helping to shape the community in a different way?
Yeah, it's really special because we don't get to do this with everyone, but because they are already a kind of an involved partner with us in a lot of different ways, they also have the Nonprofit Resource Center, which is so like aligned with us. They're a funder partner, they're community focused, and they're also into that capacity building space. And for us, we can't do it all. Like while we care about capacity building and we have some trainings that are really focused more on kind of like, our product adoption and like how to best use our tools, we need collaborations with the nonprofit resource centers and community foundations around the country to really lift that up. So we've partnered together in different trainings. We're sharing each other's trainings. They're putting kind of our free stuff in their newsletter and vice versa. And that kind of scale for us is really important. So I'll share that they're also one of maybe like 1,800, over 1,000, almost 2,000 partners around the country, just like the Community Foundation of Broward, are partners with us. And so that might be libraries, that might be other community foundations or nonprofit resource centers where they also have some of our tools available for free on site. So that's a really nice resource for those locally that if you're like, how do I find funding? It's another tool that we have available to kind of search for different grant makers.
Right.
And that is usually something that folks have to pay for. But because of our partnerships with the Community Foundation of Broward and a lot of our local libraries, they fund that and also make it for free for folks to go in and utilize. So that's a really special way that they're a great collaborator and partner to make sure that these resources are available. And then we went even deeper on our partnership with them. And they said, we really love these seals of transparency as well. We're going to try, and that's hard for a funder to change their process.
Right.
We're going to try to see what happens this year with requiring a gold seal of transparency so that we can get everyone up to speed because they know that the profile helps these nonprofits beyond just their funding purposes. So we're going to get everyone adopted into this like gold seal of transparency and all the benefits that come with it. And we're going to experiment with how there's some efficiencies for all of us.
The one thing that I really loved about that story, and there was something about, you mentioned putting in the newsletter information from Candid, and you're doing the same for Community Foundation of Broward. That's something that every nonprofit, whether small, medium, large, wherever they're at, they can, collaborate with another nonprofit. You're getting in front of their audience, you're getting them in front of your audience, and you actually are making it easier for a grantor to hopefully look at a collaboration, grant that could help both of you.
It's so spot on. I remember doing fundraising years ago in California, and I was doing a lot of collaboration, and I had a funder tell me, Krista, the grant is great, but you're ahead of your time. We don't want to see how you're leveraging our dollars with all of your partnerships. We want to know what you're going to do with it. And here I am, not so long later, talking about how actually it's the opposite now. It is required in most grant applications that not only are you collaborating, but you're actually listing who you're collaborating with. I recently served on the Community Development Advisory Board, which is an elected position in the city of Hollywood. And I was so honored to be elected and chosen to be in this role where for us, what we were doing is disseminating HUD or federal dollars into our own community in community development, youth development, domestic violence, homelessness, so really important issues in our community, which extends farther beyond just the city of Hollywood, for sure. It's definitely in our region.
Yeah.
And reading through those applications, like I've been on a funder side before, but it had been a minute, and I'm here creating partnerships with everyone and talking about it and reading through and seeing how the variety of how folks were talking about their collaboration really tuned me in to how important it is that we're talking about it, that we're teaching it, and that we're showing better examples of how that works. Like, you don't have to be the expert on all parts of homelessness. It's a complex system. What are you really great at, and who else are you partnering with so that funders can see that their investment is really going further and wider? And why wouldn't they want to invest in all of you? So that's my tip to more smaller organizations. You're going to be competing, especially now, because, it's more challenging to get funds these days. So, why not think through how you can honestly put yourself into another grant application with a more known organization that already has a rapport with the grant process, like a Boys and Girls Club or some of these larger entities that they've got their operations and how to write this grant down. They've got the rapport and the relationship, but you're coming in and really providing the piece that you're really great at. And don't forget, like a nonprofit can, kind of pay you for those services too. So starting to think a little more innovatively around collaboration and not pulling you away from your mission, but actually like helping you solve the problems that you aim to solve through collaboration is really key.
I love that. I absolutely love that, because that is so true. Like finding different ways to work together, like you said, leverage some of your other, relationships that you're building. And then find ways to actually work with them and find ways to get into those grants and get other ways to find money. It's all about diversifying your, your money.
And your approach too. And I mean, I love talking about money. That's whoops.
I'm glad somebody does.
I know. Some of my colleagues are like, Krista will always teach financial management, and it's like, I love talking about budgets because it's really the financial story of your work. So you do such a great job of telling that kind of heartfelt story and how we kind of, pull at our emotions, which is an important part of our work. But then the budget and the numbers need to match that, right? And so that's how you end up getting money, and that's how you end up building trust. So all these tools are important, but a lot of times I will talk to folks where they're like, okay, now what do I do? And it's like, sometimes if you're not sure, for example, how to get your gold seal of transparency because some of the questions aren't, kind of clear to you, then that's your indication of what you need to work on. Go back to planning, narrow down what your programs are, really focus in on how you're going to create change. Maybe it's a logic model or a theory of change model. And those are just some examples, but you want to really start thinking about how are we going to your point, create that meaningful impact to do our work. And, I know it's hard these days, but I also recommend being really real. We all have big aspirations and visions on how many we want to serve and how far we're going to go with that and how many staff we're going to need to do that. But the real math is being real and going, well, this is what we have. And realistically, if we get, this much more, we can do this much more. And so I think that realistic math, I'm seeing that through my, volunteering, but also through my work when I'm reading applications, is being really realistic on where you are in your organization and what you're going to do with those funds. That's critical for these funders to kind of either take a leap or make an investment for you. We all want $1 million. Okay.
I mean, that's the easy answer.
Make it 2.
Make it 2, make it 5, make it 10. You'll eventually get there.
Yeah.
as long as you're taking it step by step. And sometimes it's, all right, what do I need to fund this program?
Yeah.
How do I leverage just this step and then move to the next one? Okay, now we have another program. We need to hire somebody. How does that work? And then just move it along and we'll get there.
Yeah, that's why I call fundraising like the art and the science of the work, because it's both. You really do need to know the science of the math in order to demonstrate that you're reliable to give money to. I mean, like, think about it. If you ask your friend for $25, it's a little different than $2,500.
Yeah.
Don't you think you're gonna have a few more questions around what they're gonna do with the $2,500 than $25? So that scale on what you're asking for and kind of doing that math is a lot of the science and the planning that goes into fundraising and getting ready. But then there is art. It's not as detailed. Nothing needs to be super restricted. You want to build in staff time for these dollars. You want to be able to tell your story creatively through maybe one stakeholder or one, impact story versus, all of them, because all the numbers can kind of feel overwhelming in that way. So having all of those little tools in your toolbox to be able to, build your fundraising operations and your communications campaigns is critical.
100%. So as we wrap up, I just want to say another huge thank you to Align and Innovate for being our brand partner for today. You actually got a couple shout outs, so thank you so much. And how do people get a hold of you at Candid or Candid in general? I know that you can go to the website candid.org, but is there any other best practices of way of communicating and getting in touch with Candid?
We have an amazing, what we call like online librarians team, and they're available. They're real humans, even though we're out here creating innovative, tech tools. We also have an amazing team of actual humans that answer your emails and your calls. There's a chat that they're on the other end chatting with you live, Monday through Friday, Eastern time currently. And then we also have an email that's support@candid.org. I had someone in Broward emailed me yesterday because they were wanting to ensure that their gold seal was updated for all the cool things that are happening with our partnership. And within seconds, our support team responded and got right on it. They are the best. We were all together last week. And while we're all together having fun, they're still working around the clock. So support@candid.org is the best focus, or you can go right onto our website and find chat bots to talk to.
They're live people.
They're live people. Like, I know their names, and when they have questions that they don't know, because we're more kind of fundraising experts, they send them over to us, and I end up answering some of them along the time, things like that. So that is really the best way to get in touch with us in real time. And then, I teach stuff that's on the website. I'm out in the community. Like, I'm sure you'll see me, but I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
We have a huge team of amazing folks. So anytime you interact with anyone at Candid, you're in good hands.
So last question, we always ask this, is what is the legacy you personally want to leave for future generations?
Oh, I love that question. I really know that this is my purpose. And I'm so grateful that Candid exists, and because the mission is so aligned with my purpose as well. But it's bigger than working for an organization for me, for sure. If I can make it concise, it's helping all the organizations that do all the amazing work every day be successful. That's really key for me. And so using my expertise and kind of being at this, an intermediary role is really exciting for me, because I don't have to pick my favorite nonprofit. I can help all of them. And I know the difference that nonprofits are making in our community. And when we think about the idea that they might not be there tomorrow, it's kind of scary for me, because our communities are richer, more vibrant, safer, healthier, more connected because of all the nonprofits. So I think the secondary piece of me doing my work is doing a better job of getting out there to folks that don't know what it is that we do, because we are at risk for not being here if we're not funded. And that is going to be a really sad place to live, honestly. So more folks knowing about what we do and doing things like this, and thank you for doing this from the business perspective, more collaborations cross sector, so that folks really understand how vibrant our communities are with these nonprofits, is kind of that deeper secondary purpose.
Krista, thank you so much for being on the show. And if you're looking for visibility yourself, definitely check out and contact us, podcasts at visualsbymomo.com to get your spot on the next episode. So again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Visualize. We hope that the inspiration and practical insights can help you foster stronger connections and meaningful change. Don't forget to subscribe, share the episode, and leave us a review. To learn more about Visuals by Momo and how we support collaboration and storytelling, visit visualsbymomo.com. A huge thank you to everyone out there listening. Until next time, remember, collaboration fuels change, and your connections can inspire the world.